Welcome back, Pointers. I'm Lexi Hull.
And I'm Yamil Bailey. Welcome to tonight's episode of SPTV News.
Interested in learning about upcoming events on campus? Stay tuned to find out.
Are you a tuba player looking for some fun concerts to be part of? Well, the Low Brass Club of UWSP is holding a tuba Christmas concert on Friday, December 13th. All players of any age are welcome to join. To participate in the concert, there's a $10 fee as well as filling out a form that is on spin. On December 13th, players who filled out the form will need to check in at 4:45 p.m. in the NFAC room 270, Mickelson Hall, which is followed by the rehearsal at 5 p.m. Then the performance is at 7:30 p.m., which is open to the public. For more information, check it out now on Spin.
Thank you, Jamil. There's a couple fun things happening on campus. On December 13th, the University Library is hosting a little event for students looking to relax around finals. During this event, there will be a friendship bracelet making event as well as games and snacks such as hot cocoa. This event is happening in the CCC, room 130, starting at 8 a.m. and ending at 4 p.m. Then, on Thursday, December 12th, the Center for Prevention is hosting a cocoa and cream event where students can make holiday card crafts, coloring, and study while drinking a hot cocoa. This event is happening in the DUC Laird Room starting at 6 p.m. and is free for all students. For more information, check out these events on Spin.
Finals week is around the corner, and with that comes a lot of homework and studying. So from here at Pointer Studios is Kayli Hansen, who went to the counseling center to interview a counselor on stress management.
So I am Dr. Jason Seward, and I am a licensed psychologist here at the UWSP Counseling Center. Sure. So I'm a psychologist, and that brings with it probably what you think of when you think of an office like this, right? So I do a lot of individual therapy, me and someone usually in that chair over there, and that's the bulk of what I do. But my role on campus is kind of split between that and a couple other things. The main other thing that I do is I do a lot of like education and prevention work on campus. So I'm responsible for training faculty and staff members on mental health matters. We do a lot of crisis management work across campus so people can recognize disturbing mental health situations and be responsive with them, kind of know the difference between kind of bad and really bad, that kind of thing. And then, I do a lot of work with student organizations and student groups. So I spend some time in the halls, I spend some time with student organizations, and generally I just try to be responsive to whatever they need. So sometimes they come to the table with specific questions for me. They want me to speak to a particular issue, something like, what's the mental health implications of social media use or that kind of thing. And so when someone has an interesting question for me like that, I usually do a bunch of research on it, and then I'm able to come to the table and say, like, here's what we know about that area. So between individual therapy and education and prevention work, that largely rounds out what I do here. Definitely. So obviously this office runs all the way through finals week, so anyone needing individual health care is continuing to get it right up until the end of the semester. So we're continuing to do that. This is a time when we kind of taper our outreach efforts, mainly because we're trying to make available as many clinical hours as possible. We're trying to fit in as many people off the wait list as we can between now and the end of the year. So some of our outreach work is a little bit limited right now. But next week, I'm going to be speaking to a group about mindfulness, counseling center services. We've recently rolled out a program. It's a 4 75-minute sessions that actually teach people the skills of mindfulness. You can Google that and you can get YouTube videos on that. But we're trying to get to a place where people can integrate it more fully into their lives, right? The most effective mindfulness practices, for example, are the ones you actually do, the ones you follow through with, right? And if you make it a part of your day, 10 minutes a day, something like that, that's always better than people who do it once in earnest. And so we have some programming that we're rolling out now. We did a trial in the fall, and then that'll happen multiple times in the spring, and so we're kind of excited about that. That's another thing we're working on at the moment. Well, there's a couple. The two that stand out to me most is that everything about stress management, especially at this time of the year, really concerns sustainable effort, not just high effort. And so a lot of people can do incredible amounts of work, but they burn out after a while, right? You can work day and night for a couple of days, but you will quickly see the wheels come off if you have an approach like that. And so, I think one of the things to keep in mind is working hard, but also taking good care of yourself and allowing yourself to keep doing that day after day. That's important for the whole semester, but it's especially important now. And so, I would advise people to make sure that, like, even though they have a lot hovering over their heads, finals week is kind of right in front of us, to make sure that they're getting enough sleep, to make sure that they don't abandon things like exercise that actually help people sleep. That stuff does moderate stress in some respects. And so keeping a healthy lifestyle while you apply lots of effort to college is a main one. And then a second one that really springs to mind is making sure that, like, while you're busy, and this is a time when we often make a lot of compromises where it's like, well, I'm not going home this weekend because I really have to stay here and get caught up or be prepared for something on Monday or Tuesday. That's very justifiable. But I think that to the extent that we can, it's important to keep in your life things that are important to you that don't have a lot to do with school. So for example, if you have a romantic relationship, making sure that you're attending to it, making sure that you give it some time. If you have something that is stress relieving, trying to keep it in your life, right? So sometimes people, they work out every day or something like that. If we can keep that up and not make that particular compromise, not compromise on the things that are healthy for us, I think that's good judgment. If you're like me, I get a lot of stress relief out of watching the Packers every week, right? Well, sometimes they may add to my stress, but it's a thing that I hold sacred, right? It's 3 hours once a week, and I don't ever allow anything into that space. No, absolutely not, actually. And like, if you know a bit about how human beings learn, they tend to learn better in what we call kind of repeated spaced review. And so that means, like, if you have 4 chapters to read, reading 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then back to 1 and 2, like taking smaller bites but revisiting the same material over and over again, that's actually what promotes memory. When people try to study in large chunks or large blocks or long overnighters, they won't learn nothing. It's better than not studying, but it is actually inferior to taking smaller bites when we approach school. Well, short of physical exercise, trying to get enough sleep, and I guess I'd add to that having adequate nutrition. You'd be surprised how far those things go, right? And we don't think about it, but it's also when we make those sacrifices, right? The later the night out, the easier it is to do the 2 a.m. Taco Bell run, right? And so, people who, take good care of their bodies, they have greater alertness, they focus a little bit better, and so it's easy to sort of make compromises there, but those are the better habits to have. Well, obviously here, people can seek us out, and we're diligently working through the people who've already made contact with us and are trying to get into the office. We do a good job with that, but there's a lot of demand here. So reaching out to us is always a good idea. If the concern or the stress has to do with classes and stuff like that and the specifics of a class, I've always found the faculty here to be pretty receptive to students when they approach somebody and say, like, I really want to do well in your class. How should I organize my time? What should I focus on? Can you give me any information about what's expected of me on the final? Getting a little intel about how to best direct your time, and sometimes faculty members, I've found them to be pretty receptive to making sure that you can target your efforts well, and so reaching out to faculty can be helpful in that respect too. I think that students should seek out whatever things they feel like are helpful to them. And some people, what they get out of Mantra is Mantra has different availability than our office, for example. They have people available later in the evenings. And, one thing I know about college students is that their schedules can get very jacked, And so, if Mantra is a way for you to get mental health care that, like, we would struggle to provide, I think they do a great job, And Mantra has been rolled out system-wide, but actually the heaviest users of Mantra is UWSP. We are definitely using that service more than some of the other campuses, and that's a good thing. You know, they have psychiatry available. It's easier access than some of the clinics regionally are able to offer, and so Mantra, I think, it's been a good extension of what we do here. And so if people find that that's the easiest or best option for them, definitely seek it out. If they think that our option, maybe the in-person, sit down with another person here in the office option's better, a lot of people prefer that, then seek that out. But I think that having lots of things that people can pursue that suit them, just broadening the perspective, the scope of what we're able to offer, that's been an unconditional win for our office. And so I'm excited that we just have that option, and then I would encourage people to choose the one that feels right for them. You know, I think one thing worth keeping in mind is that this place is genuinely difficult, right? The college can feel like a little bit of a meat grinder sometimes, and so, you know, one of the things that makes this hard is that we traffic in some of the most complicated material here. That's what we do with higher education, and some of the things that people are being asked to do are genuinely complicated, and they're being asked to memorize genuinely high volumes of information. And so when someone reads like they read a chapter of a chemistry book and they don't grasp it on their first go, you know, sometimes they're quick to be really self-critical. You know, they'll say, well, I'm not getting it, something's wrong with me, I'm stupid, and that is absolutely not the case. You know, keeping in mind that like what we do here is genuinely complicated, and sometimes it takes a pass or two before you start to really get your arms around something. I would encourage people to extend themselves some grace with that, and just appreciate that that's part of the process, and that's part of working with really complicated and nuanced academic material.
That's all we have for you this week.
And as always, thanks for tuning in and have a great week.